We're backstage at the Iowa City Jazz Festival. The last day of the Iowa City Jazz Festival, I'm Hollis Monroe, and joining me is Jackson Churchill of Jackson Churchill and Good Question. They're to be taking the stage here this afternoon at 3 p.m. Jackson is recognized as one of the hardest working musicians in the business today. He's a full-time high school band director. He's won 3 international jazz trombone competitions facilitated by the National Trombone Association, including the J.J. Johnson, which I'm very impressed with. He's also performed with people like the Glenn Miller Orchestra, Christian McBride's J.S. Academy. Doing his tour at Valley High and in West Des Moines, the program was receiving numerous distinctions from organizations like Bands of America, the Iowa Jazz Championships. He also studied with Nick Finzer and played in the fabled 1 O'Clock Lab Band. That's something I need to ask you about. My gosh, what an experience.
Yeah.
I could go on forever. Good afternoon, Jackson. Welcome, man.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for having me. This is great. I'm happy to be here.
So, tell me a little, this is an amazing jazz journey to this point here. How did you start out?
Yeah, so I grew up in Duluth, Minnesota originally, so way up north, a couple hours south of Canada. And, I had a pretty regular childhood, I'd say, but, played piano, played trombone, and then went to Luther College in Northeast Iowa. So I spent 4 years there studying with the great Juan Tony Guzman, who heads the jazz program there. And then afterwards, I got a music education degree there and decided that I wanted to keep playing a little bit more. And so knowing the reputation of North Texas, it was definitely at the top of my list. And I had the opportunity to go down there as a jazz major. Nick Finzer, who at that point had been there a few years, somebody I'd looked up to, somebody that I'd really admired his playing, but also admired the way that he went about his improvising and his craft of the music business. So I got to learn from him for 2 years, and then decided after that, I think I really want to teach full time. I had directed the 5, 6, and 7 o'clock lab bands when I was down there as a teaching assistant.
Okay.
So that was one of my favorite parts about being in that graduate program. And then wanted to do that more full time. Was looking to get back up to the Midwest, and the job at Valley High School opened, which Valley has a storied jazz program that I had actually heard about a little bit, but definitely got to know better as I, got into the job. So I've spent the last 4 years there, and it's been great. And then I actually accepted a new position. I'm unfortunately leaving Iowa at the end of this summer. I'm going to be the director of jazz at Gustavus Adolphus College in St. Peter, Minnesota. So
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. It's very bittersweet, but I'm really glad that it's close to Iowa, and that I will still be hopefully in the scene in Des Moines, in the scene hopefully around. I know there's a couple projects already being set up for next year. So that's how I got here.
And you made some great connections here. We'll talk about your special guest artist today coming up in a bit.
Yes.
Now, you've recorded as a solo artist as well. Your album On Your Mark was released in 2025.
Yep.
And featured entirely original compositions and arrangements.
Yes.
So how did you go from that to And Good Question?
Yeah. So this band that we're going to hear in a little bit is pretty much the band that I recorded with. Mm-hmm. We unfortunately had as you mentioned, we might talk about it a little bit later, but one of our musicians couldn't make it here this weekend, so we've got a great sub lined up. But this group of musicians was all people that I met in Iowa. So the trumpet player John Ilabuni was actually one of my professors at Luther College when he taught there. And then Robert Espy, who played on the record, was one of the first musicians I met at Noche, which is a club in Des Moines. Yeah. And then got to know Mike Conrad as well through teaching and clinic work, and he would judge my jazz bands at festivals. Stephen Hefner spent a year, he's the bass player, he spent a year as the jazz director at Simpson College. Okay. And we actually overlapped at North Texas very, very briefly as he was finishing his doctoral program. But he spent a year there, and so I nabbed him for a couple engagements while he was there. And then the drummer Andrew Jersvek on that album was another musician I had played with and loved his playing. So this album really kind of came about from my experiences as both a student in Iowa, but then returning as a teacher and kind of starting my career with music as a central focus of it.
Now, we're talking about your special guest,
Yeah.
Chris Mertz, who everybody here knows, and most everybody listening to the sound of my voice, has been either to Christopher's Very Happy Band or the Shorter Stories or anything at you and I.
Yeah.
How did you two first hook up?
Yeah, so like I said, Robert can't make it this weekend, so I actually called Chris on Friday, and I said, hey, are you able to be here? And he said, absolutely. Yeah, I've admired his playing. I've been able to play in the Iowa Jazz Composers Orchestra, and he's also been a clinician for several of the festivals that my high school jazz band went to. So definitely admired his playing, gotten to know him a little bit better through different engagements around the state, and thrilled to have him here this weekend.
Now, you've mentioned several of the jazz programs that you've been involved with. You're an educator of note and a director of jazz and wind ensembles, band director. You're a teaching artist of trombone at Drake University, too.
Yeah, yep.
What is your favorite thing about teaching?
You know, when I was finishing my graduate degree, I realized that I was getting to play in some really, really amazing performance venues, and the 1 O'Clock Lab Band went on tour when I was in it to Florida, and just like really, really cup-filling performances. But I found that when I was teaching, I could kind of have the best of both worlds, because I could still play and set that example hopefully for the students, but then I was also challenging myself every single day in new ways. And it's a people-oriented profession. So, you know, I like writing music and I like performing music, but teaching music I feel like really can touch a lot of people. And that's what, when I hit the pillow at the end of every day, like I never feel like a day was wasted or a day went without merit, because of the impact that it can have on students. And I love the relationships with students. One of the things I'm really going to miss about high school teaching is that formative age, when students are starting to figure out kind of what they'd like to do in life. I know that many of them might go on to be musicians, but many of them will just have music as a part of their life, and I hope that it's something that enriches that life, and that's what I'm most excited about. The college that I'm going to teach at actually has a similar mission statement, and the students that are there, many of them will be music majors at Gustavus, but many of them will also be, you know, chemistry and biology and English and history majors, but still performing and studying music at a high level. And that's what I love about teaching, because it brings so many people from different parts of life together.
And to continue with it for their entire life.
Yes, yeah.
Nice.
This festival is a great example of that. I mean, the wide range of acts that we have here at this festival, it's like very inspiring to see people who are professional musicians like Artemis last night, and then people who are teachers like myself being able to stand up and perform it as well.
And speaking of this afternoon, what are we going to be treated to? Is it a program of originals, a mix of originals and standards? What are we going to be getting?
Yeah, all original music. So I've got
nice.
three originals from the album On Your Mark, which was released last year, and then 3 new things. So I'm excited to test them out. There'll be premieres, so the audience will get to hear them for the first time, and ever, actually. And that's a kind of an exhilarating part about improvised creative music. Every performance is always different, and the first one is definitely special.
Now, I know you're sort of in a time of transition, but is there, in the back of your mind, a thought about another album?
There is, yeah. Stay tuned.
All right.
Stay tuned. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, folks. Jackson Churchill and Good Questions. Strauss Community Stage here at the Iowa City Jazz Festival this afternoon at 3 p.m. Jackson, thank you so very much,
Thanks
man.
for having me. It felt a pleasure.